Well, welcome everybody to our first and some would say maybe the most prominent of our roundtable discussions, where we have mayoral candidates here for our municipal election. I'm very excited to welcome many of our mayoral candidates here today. I'm going to keep it quite informal. Wanted to give these candidates the opportunity to speak with the business community specific to, and just one or two questions for the business community. I'm just going to ask everybody to mute your lines, or if you can also to the Ottawa Board of Trade team, if you want to go ahead and mute everybody. There we are. Thank you very much. So once again, welcome to our mayoral candidates here for Ottawa's municipal election. We will be keeping things very informal. My name is Rick Chase. I'm a volunteer with the Ottawa Board of Trade. And I have been a volunteer within the Canada Chamber of Commerce, the West Ottawa Board of Trade, and the Ottawa Board of Trade, and very passionate about our business community and the interactions that our business community has with from a broader standpoint here in the community, right? It's not just all business, but how business interacts, and we really believe that business drives social and social drives business, and how that integration comes together does take a large effort from many organizations, but it also takes a large volunteer effort. So I'm very proud to be asked to help moderate things here today as a longtime volunteer. I had the chance to meet many of you in that capacity over the years, because many of you are also longtime community volunteers and advocates. So thank you again for making some time to be here. From a format standpoint, going to share a little bit about our mandate at the Board of Trade. I should say the Board of Trade's mandate, and specifically around this election, and why we've decided that that we need to be a little bit more involved and have a slightly louder voice than maybe we have in past municipal elections, and share a little bit more about that with all of you. But really today is about hearing from our mayoral candidates. We've solicited our members of the organization for a few questions. So from a format standpoint, I'd like to start with a little bit about the Board of Trade, and then randomized, and I'd like to reach out to individual candidates with about 2 minutes, let's say, response time. We'll be a little soft on it, but after, I'll give you a warning. We don't want it to turn into a full-on debate, of course, but do want to give you the opportunity to be heard. Do want to give you the opportunity to be able to reach to the business community. So the Board of Trade is a member organization, right? We're driven by members who decide to take a portion of their income and direct it to a larger organization. We're driven heavily by volunteers. We're very thankful that we also have, I would argue, some of the best staff and team members within our organization as well, with Su-Ling Ching, our CEO and president, and team members such as Lynn, who's on the line here today, and Evan, who's also on the line here today. This dynamic allows us to be the voice of business in Ottawa. We work very closely with stakeholders and good partners such as the BIAs, and we do have at least one. I haven't looked through all the attendees here, but at least one of the presidents of BIAs here with us today. Andrea is with us as well. So we work closely with stakeholders such as the BIAs. Work closely with Ottawa Tourism. We work with Real Estate Board. We work closely with the Ottawa Airport Authority. We're really trying to work with some large public stakeholders that are large employers, and also work with, of course, and trying to give a voice to the mom and pop corner store shop, all the way through to some employers in the city that employ thousands of people. And we do that really by coming together as a volunteer board of directors and volunteer committees that are made up of members of the business community in various capacities. So, but with that, it does give us a lot of ability to poll, to talk to our members, to be able to talk with other stakeholders, and compile what we would argue is really credible information that we can share outbound. And it also gives us the ability to advocate sometimes with some messages that we think are really important from the business community to be heard with, certainly within City Council, sometimes provincially, sometimes federally, but really a lot of our interactions are with at the municipal level, of course. For this municipal campaign, we're asking the community to think about electing leaders that are really committed to driving growth funding smart transit, infrastructure, and then really fostering innovation. And the focus here is about the growth of the city, right? We really believe that Ottawa can continue to move towards being, inclusive, affordable, sustainable, but really a world-class city. But it will take hyper collaboration between the council and hyper collaboration between the business community. Last thing I'll say to that is, we also work very closely with partners such as the United Way and others, because we do believe that there's a very close connection between the revenue, the tax revenue that's generated by the business community, and the social programs that are so important to our city. And conversely, people don't want to open businesses in a city that doesn't have a very strong charitable and social community as well. So that's symbiotic. It's not just always raw business, but many times, and you'll see it in some of our Build Up Ottawa strategy, that we're not just talking about, keeping taxes moderate for the business community. We're talking about building infrastructure. We're talking about affordable housing. We're talking about some things that are maybe not the typical that you'd expect the business community to be advocating for, but certainly that whole symbiotic relationship we feel is very important. So with that said, I'd encourage everyone, I won't go through all of the priorities in our Build Up Ottawa, but we have 5 that we've been advocating for, and those 5, you can find them on the Build Up Ottawa site. And if you're watching this video later on, you just have to scroll down because they're right here on the page down below if you're watching this after the fact. So with that said, I'm very excited to welcome our mayoral candidates here today. We have, and I'm gonna go in alphabetical order for candidates that are on the line. Brandon Bay, Greg Guevara, I think I'm saying your name right, Greg. Nour Kadri, Mike Mcguire, Ade Olamade, Param Singh, and I think Mark Sutcliffe is here with us, or at least he's confirmed. But I should take some notes as to who's on the line right now. So I do see Brendan. Thank you for being here, Brendan. Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Param, Ade, I see all of you. And who else am I missing? Am I missing anyone?
Could I make a?
We did have regrets from one of the candidates last minute, and that was, if you'll just bear with me for a moment, Mr. Mcdonald.
Okay, that's Grant Mcdonald. Great. So what we'll do is I have some questions for the group. I'm prepared to. We talked with our business members. And we've looked at a few questions, but again, I'd like to keep it relatively tight. But what I would like to do is, if I may, we'll start with just giving each candidate 1 minute to just introduce themselves and talk a little bit maybe about how the campaign is going, how they and what their message is for, specifically for the business community. But this is your opportunity to be heard. We'll be publicizing this conversation. So I'll start, and I do have like I said, I used a little randomizer here. I just had to go back to my notes. There we go. So we'll start with Mike Mcguire. Mike, if you'd like to take yourself off mute and just take a minute to introduce yourself, please.
Sure. Thanks for having us, by the way. I'm Mike Mcguire, candidate for mayor. I've got a few key platform issues that I'm dealing with. An affordable housing option, that is by using the planning power of the city to introduce the ability for developers to make small and expensive homes, about $400,000 entry-level homes, as well as streamlining the planning, zoning, and permitting activities of the city to increase commercial and residential real estate construction, and to lower the cost and to increase the speed of that construction. I talk a lot about transit, about restoring OC Transpo bus routes where they were canceled, shouldn't have been canceled. As well, particularly, I talk about introducing a commuter rail service between Canada and Orleans using the existing track that's already in place and still in use. It's insane that we're not using this right now. And lastly, safe streets. So I've been spending weeks and weeks consulting with members of the business community and the social program community in the Byward market. And I've come to the conclusion that we can no longer shelter mentally ill and drug addicted people in the Byward market. It serves no one's best interest, particularly those who are suffering. So Ottawa needs to consider building shelters outside of the city core and enforcing strict policing on those individuals selling drugs to those at-risk people in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for that intro, and thank you also for sticking pretty well right on the 1 minute mark. So thank you for that. I know it's not anybody's first time introducing themselves in the last few weeks. Ade Olamide, I'll turn it over to you. Please introduce yourself.
Well, thank you, Rick. Minor correction, it's Olumide. So Ade Olumide.
Thank you.
Yes, Olumide is good.
Have I been saying your name wrong for all the years we've known each other? I'm sorry if I have.
Well,
I think
no, that's
known each other
okay.
for about
I just
20
said
years.
Olumida, so I just didn't want people to, like I'm not fussy, but just a minor correction.
It should be right. Yes.
But good to see you again. That is for sure. You look well. So I was going to say that as the founder of the Ottawa Taxpayer Advocacy Group, and as the former president of the Municipal Taxpayer Advocacy Group, did convince 37 municipalities across Ontario to pass a motion that hydro should be affordable. I did other things, but I thought I'll bring that up because that is something that goes directly to benefit for the business community to keep hydro costs affordable. And this was during the time when we had the Green Energy Act and all of that. A number of my platforms that I think that the business community will be pleased to hear about is a hiring freeze. I wonder why would the business community be pleased to hear about a hiring freeze? And that's because whether it's over a period of 4 years or 8 years, I would like to see a 20% permanent reduction in city staff through attrition. So we're not firing anybody. So what that means is that we're spending about $2 billion a year on compensation. So that is a potential $400 million that will be spent elsewhere. Now, I would hope to get some savings. So I'm not expecting the whole 400 million to be spent. But even if it's 200 or 300, that will be for the small business. That would be for the small business community to benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I will give everyone a 10-second warning or so if you get over the minute mark. Thank you, Ade. Over to our next here for intros would be Param. Mr. Singh.
Hey, everybody. My name is Param Singh. What I bring to the table is my integrity. And what I want to do is make sure that any decisions that's being made at the city council level is transparent and that we're accountable for any decisions being made and that the decision is made in a reliable and an affordable way with the end user being the residents. Anything the city touches has businesses impacted in one way or another. Anything we touch has the economy impacted, has the arts. Everything is intertwined in any decision that's being made at City Hall. And the one thing that I see is there is no connection between all of these organizations and associations. So what I want to make sure is that everyone has an option or an opportunity to give their ideas and to put forth their ideas. Together, we're going to make a better Ottawa. Together, we're going to be making sure that Ottawa is on the right track and that our dollar is spent properly. And when everyone is happy, like the old adage, happy wife, happy life, when everyone is happy and everyone is on the right track, right, we're going towards an ultimate goal of prosperity in Ottawa. And that's my ultimate goal. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And Brendan Bay.
Thank you, Rick. So as you said, my name's Brandon Bay. Today, by trade, I'm a software developer. I'm working at a little Invest Ottawa senior focused social enterprise called Wellbe. And I'm a longtime volunteer in the community. I also, I've worked around the city in different parts of the software industry. And before that in retail jobs while I went through school, and it helped my parents out with their independent businesses. They've both been self-employed my whole life. I've seen what it is that it takes to start up a business. And I've seen the supports that Invest Ottawa brings to the table to make that easier for new entrepreneurs. And I've been talking a lot in my campaign about how we could really expand that. You know, that model is repeatable for other businesses, and especially things like retail and food service, you know, maintaining a fleet of trucks and small retail spaces and offering all of the advice that our many experienced mentors in the business community have, and, you know, infrastructure like point of sale systems to really let people chase their dreams would be a really strong way to reinvigorate the sector that suffered so much for the last few years. You know, the business industry has had a lot of pain from the pandemic and the convoy occupation and that sort of thing. And I think helping to invigorate, you know, new businesses in the community will go a long way to help everyone. You know, even bringing traffic back to try these new things out is going to help establish businesses. And there's a lot we can do for the whole business community by helping new entrepreneurs get into the game.
Thank you for that. So we have, as I mentioned, we spoke with our members and we prepared a few questions here for the group. Lynn, just to confirm that I'm not missing any candidates when I look through the chat.
No, you've got all of our candidates.
Okay.
Thank you, Rick.
That's great. Well, thank you again for making the time to be here. Maybe I should have said that off the top, because I know it's busy. I know you're out in the community nonstop from waking up in the morning until the evening. So taking some time. We were trying to be strategic over the lunch hour, but also know that you need to eat. So anyway, thank you again for making the time to be here. We do appreciate it. So I'll ask this question, give everybody about I'll call it a soft 2 minutes. I don't want to interrupt you. You know, I was saying 10 seconds and realizing I'm not a professional moderator, of course, right? I'm a volunteer doing my best. So maybe if it's easier when you're down to wrap up your thought, I'll just raise up a paper here and kind of get your attention without interrupting you. Hopefully that's maybe a little bit of a better flow. Here's question number one, and we'll go back to a randomizer to get your answers. Again, a soft 2 minutes. Local small businesses at the heart of our community. It's really the heart of our culture and our economy. Business in particular in the last 2 years has been disproportionately impacted by pandemic restrictions, especially small and medium business, and they continue to fight and survive in this kind of new economic reality. What do you believe City Council can do to support business growth? Okay, and so really the question, not just about the pandemic, but what can City Council do to support business growth? And going back to my question one randomizer, Brendan, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. So I started answering this in my introduction, I guess, and I'll continue to say that, you know, beyond expanding Invest Ottawa's programming and offering additional funding for these small businesses, a focus on really, you know, accelerating the pace with which we're building our complete communities, the things we call 15-minute neighborhoods in the official plan, is going to help develop these businesses, not just in the established parts of town that businesses can already thrive, like, you know, the Byward Market. That's a great destination and has been for many years, but, you know, we can build these same destinations citywide and let people, you know, with remote work here to stay, have access to all of these small business opportunities close to home, where they can start a business that they can walk to or get to easily and not have to drive across town to access it, and, you know, get their neighbors involved in promoting it and in visiting it frequently, and really have that sense of community in through the businesses, which is a great thing that we get in some parts of town already and can have citywide if we focus on building neighborhoods that people want to visit and want to live in and want to remain in across the city.
Thank you very much. Next, Ade, over to you. And you are muted, sir. We'll just take you off mute there.
Okay.
There you are.
Yeah, I'd say that there's a lot we can do. And one of the most important things, you know, everyone says is, well, get out of the way of business, keep taxes affordable, reduce red tape. But I'll throw something out there without, you know, knowing all necessarily all the, you know, the trade rules and all of that. But there are companies in Ottawa that can do more business in the US, more business in Europe, more business in Africa and the Caribbean, but they are not bidding for those contracts. And so whether Invest Ottawa can play a role in assisting to develop bids for Ottawa companies so that they can access a number of the opportunities that they're more than qualified for. They're just too busy doing other things. But if they won the contract, they would execute. So that's something I'd like to see. And just going back to this issue of keeping taxes affordable, there's been a lot of talk in the media, and whether someone has a hole in the budget, in their budget or not, and spending and all of that. But aside from the new spending that different mayoral candidates announced, and I think that is pretty much well known. But what has not been addressed is there are two pressures. One is the pressure from inflation, whether you want to call that 8% or 7 or 10, whatever percentage you want to give. Or you want to talk about the pressure from negotiating with unions. Now, we know that the union has asked for 11%. So by my estimation, without even any additional spending, and then there's the OC transport deficit, we're already talking about $500 million of extra costs that could come. So I don't believe that it's possible to maintain, even if it's 3% or 2.5%, without a hiring freeze. And that's why I mentioned that at the start. And I have some other ideas, but we'll hopefully get in the next question.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for moderating yourself. Param, over to you.
Awesome. I like where Brandon was going because I have a similar mindset as Brandon when it comes to businesses. We need to have the infrastructure. We need to have people that's going to be making sure that these small businesses strive. So we need to make sure that, we have affordable housing, we have the infrastructure that surrounds these businesses, we have public transit that can we can get access to these businesses, whether there's businesses are located downtown, in the rural area, or even in the suburbs. We have a unique city. Our city is very unique because 80% of it is rural and 90% of the people live on 20% of the land in Ottawa. But even so, our transit system is not where it should be. Our infrastructure is not where it should be. So it does make it hard for certain businesses to strive more than others. And as a city, as a mayor, as city council, we need to make sure that any infrastructure that's built is built in and around affordable homes, businesses, so everyone can strive, so that people can actually access these businesses easily. But on top of that, as Ottawa knows, we're not immune to Mother Nature either. We've had the torrential storm, we have 2 tornadoes, I live in the South End and we're not immune to electrical outages for no reason, even on a beautiful day. So we need to make sure we have strong electrical corridors. We need to make sure that our infrastructure is solid so that if something does happen, it doesn't affect everyone as it did in the last torrential or tornadoes. We need to make sure that, we have the appropriate assistance. The disaster relief planning is also meant for more of the smaller businesses and not the bigger businesses. And it's an easier access for them so that they know where they're going and that if they need assistance from the city, we are there for them. And it doesn't take so much time for them to recover. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mike, last opportunity. What can City Council do to support business growth?
Okay, I love lists. So some practical considerations. Number one, transit is broken in Ottawa. This is a significant barrier to growth. It's not only a barrier to growth, it's an incentive not to do business in Ottawa and to go elsewhere where transit isn't broken. So restore OC Transport bus service on the routes where the numbers are applicable, where it makes sense. Put a commuter rail service between Canada and Orleans so that people who want to go east-west don't have to be channeled into the core, don't have to be channeled into the unreliable LRT system. We have a housing issue. It's very difficult to, first of all, find affordable rental accommodation, and to find any, if you're looking for individual housing accommodation, it's very, very expensive. A lot of this can't be affected by the municipal government because it's controlled by external factors. However, The municipal government can improve planning, zoning, permitting. Right now, it takes forever to get something approved for construction. I spoke to a very large developer who is unwinding his holdings in Ottawa because it's so much less expensive and quicker to deal with Renfrew County and with Leeds-Grenville. And that's a significant indicator of the kind of problems that Ottawa is putting in as obstructions to getting growth going. We have a major crime problem. We have a major crime problem downtown. People won't shop downtown if they don't feel safe, if they can't come back to their vehicle not being broken into. I spoke a little bit about this earlier. The policy of sheltering people who are mentally ill or who are massively addicted to drugs in the downtown core is a failure. It doesn't work. So we have to go to a different model, one that houses, shelters individuals and provides them treatment outside of the city core. The regulation is not just the planning, zoning, permitting. The myriad regulations that the city of Ottawa places on top of any development need to be streamlined. It doesn't just cost time. Time is money if you're a business. I'm a businessman, and it's ridiculous some of the hoops that we have to jump through. And lastly, there is the city's policy. It's called Energy Evolution. It's the city's environmental policy to make Ottawa a greener city. Sounds wonderful on paper. This one plan alone, $57 billion in expenditures, is insane, and it's going to bust the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, and thank you to all the candidates for basically self-moderating. You're there, very professional of everybody, so thank you. We'll go in reverse order. I think that's very fair, as Brendan would have had the least amount of time to prepare for the answer, and Mike having the most. So we're going to turn it around on you, Mike. Cities around the world are investing heavily in post-pandemic economic plans to attract investment, to attract talent to the city. In Ottawa, we've been very slow to return to office. We've been very slow to see a revitalization of our downtown, and that really is, I mean, we've been slow to recover. So the question back to the floor is, how do we inspire confidence for investors, and how do we inspire confidence in entrepreneurs? Mike, to you.
Okay, I think we should qualify that a little bit. So the major employer, as you know, major employer in town is the federal government. One of my clients is a large federal government department. We are being told there's a chance that we'll be returning downtown, but it looks like a hybrid model. So the majority of people in one of the two departments I work with, the majority of people aren't going to be coming downtown again anytime soon. It looks like a lengthy period of time. How do you inspire confidence? Same thing. One of the major factors in people telling the union that they don't want to go downtown is because the transit is so difficult. It's expensive. It doesn't take you to where you want to go, and it doesn't get you it doesn't pick you up where you are, and doesn't take you where you want to go. That's just an impossible situation. Additionally, this, my heart breaks, and I've been canvassing downtown in the market for about 8 weeks now. I don't know what the city can do in a practical sense, but in a sort of a sense of encouraging, the city must be a much more active and aggressive partner with the federal government and the provincial governments in order to encourage those different levels of government to get their employees back downtown. At the same time, clean up the streets, clean up the crime, make it possible so that a business can stay open, so that employees will have a social incentive to get back in the office. I've been home now for 2.5 years. We're not even allowed in the office, and that hasn't been a productive time. It's professionally productive, but obviously I'm missing all of my social contacts, and I'm not supporting businesses that are in the city. So it's a hybrid question, right? It's extremely difficult to solve this without having our partners involved. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Following that same order, Param.
Yep. If you want to attract anyone anywhere, it has to be, you have to make it interesting for them. Ottawa is not really interesting. Apparently, it's where fun goes to die. And we need to get out of that sentiment. Like everyone has been saying, our transit system is really in shambles and is disastrous. It doesn't take you where do you want to go, and most of the time it's very expensive, or it's not even reliable or on time. So transit has to be something that has to be looked at right away, because transit has an effect on everything, whether it's affordable housing, whether it's businesses or anything like that. Once you fix transit, we also have to look at affordable housing. People want to come over here. We keep talking about intensification, but some people also like to have an acre of land and whatnot. So you have to give that opportunity to everyone. Ottawa is growing by another 500,000 people in the next 20, 25 years. And we have to account for that growth. growth. We have to give them jobs. We have to make sure that our transit system works. We have to give them a place, a roof over their head, but we also need the arts so we can entertain ourselves. We need the parks so they can go out for walks with their families and whatnot. And we have to make everything attractive. We have to make everything functional, affordable, and reliable. And that's what we need to do. And we need to step up our game as well. And we need to work collaboratively, everyone together. That's why I'm going to rely heavily on the Ottawa Board of Trade for their expertise when it comes to making decisions, when it comes to businesses, or what can we improve on in the long run. And once everything is set in place and set in motion, everything becomes more attractive. And then people we are going to want to attract to come to work for Ottawa or in Ottawa are going to have a better chance of coming here than to go somewhere else, because we are going to have the facilities, we are going to have the infrastructure in place. It is going to be reliable, it is going to be affordable, and they're going to want to have their families here and call Ottawa a home. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ade, the floor is yours.
Well, this is a very good debate because I haven't heard anything I disagree with yet. So that's a compliment to my competitors. But I'll say this, I would like to see what you call an urban transit, rural home or urban transit shuttle. And this is one of the platform ideas that has not been in the public's stream because, you know, for whatever reasons. But essentially, we're about to invest upwards of maybe $10 billion in an LRT system. We have to recoup our investment. And what I'm simply saying is that if we have a brand new 3P service, not under OC Transport, where you can actually get a shuttle that will pick you from wherever you live directly to an LRT station and then back. Ridership is dropped, it's less than 50%, and it's not coming back. I know there's this downtown committee, you know, working on how to revitalize, but we heard from Mr. Maguire that they're not coming back. So let's recoup our investment on $10 billion by having something called a rural urban home shuttle. And by the way, let's include as well a rideshare program. Seattle has one of the best. And this is something that we could work with large employers to have a rideshare program as well. So I'll just take the few seconds I have left to just go back to this, this issue of when we talk about competency. So how do we inspire confidence? We need to inspire confidence by letting them know that we have a competent group running the city. Everybody knows in the private sector, you're supposed to focus on your core competencies. The core competency of the city of Ottawa is policy development. So there's nothing else that the city is doing that cannot be done by a small business. So when we talk about as people retire, not replacing them on the city force, that potential of 20% reduction in the city force, that is up to $400 million that could be spent with small business. And we should eliminate all the entry barriers. Remember the former Consulting and Audit Canada? They had smaller contracts, 25,000, 100,000, 50,000. So at the end of the day, there's no reason why a hiring freeze could not trigger the creation of up to 1,000 new businesses, or expansions of existing businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brendan.
The thing I'd like to talk most about is that, you know, you mentioned in the initial question that we've been slow to return to office, and I don't think we should. You know, remote work has been proven, it works, people like it. CTV released a poll this week that said 80% of remote workers would find a new job if their employer forced them back into the office. And the fact that downtown businesses have suffered so much without tourists and commuters just means that we've built a poor downtown, and we need to fix that. We need to get residents living there, and we need to build, you know, amenities throughout the rest of the communities in the city to get to the level of downtown so that everyone has everything close to home. And there are more opportunities for businesses everywhere across the city. And that if we have another event in the future that drives tourists away for a year or something, we aren't destroyed by it the way that we have been in the last few years. And so that, you know, that includes conversions of existing buildings into residences in ways that, you know, has been talked about a lot, but the governments have been slow to move on that. And we're starting to see success with those conversions in other cities like Calgary. It includes, getting restrictive zoning removed, exclusionary zoning removed, and building faster and building more units and getting people living downtown. And it includes developing the commercial infrastructure in the suburbs and in the rural areas to support this sort of, localized miniature downtown situation where we spread everything out and have opportunities for all sorts of businesses everywhere in the city. And for the people that do want to have an office environment, and that includes me, I've been working from home myself this whole time, and I would really like to be back in the office, but nobody at my company agrees with that. And so it, it would be strange to commute all the way to work to sit there alone instead of sitting home alone. And we can invest in remote work, like hoteling situations. And there's companies in Ottawa providing that already. I believe one of them is called Spaces, and they've got a great set of spaces in their buildings for people to work in, for those that want to have an office environment. But we could also bring those into communities through the city with, in libraries, which are the traditional community knowledge centers, and just have localized community spaces where you work with your neighbors instead of your direct coworkers.
Thank you. I do want to be very respectful of everybody's time today. I know sleep and eating when you're on the campaign trail are often sacrificed for shaking more hands and seeing more people. I want to be conscious of, be respectful of everyone's calendars here. But I do want to, in closing, I want to give everyone the opportunity to speak directly to the business community. If elected mayor, would be the beginning of that, but do know your audience is about 50,000 or so businesses and their employees here in the community that are kind of part of our organization. We'll turn on the randomizer here again, and I'll give you again a soft minute or so for that. I'll give you a warning with a few seconds and then just start to wrap up. But everybody's again has done such a great job of that today, so thank you again. Putting on the randomizer. Great. Param, you're up first. If elected mayor and you're speaking to the business community.
Awesome. What I want to say is I have an open door policy. The last 20 years, I've been responding to 911 calls, and I've been listening to everyone's problems, issues of the day at the time of. My goal has always been to try to find a solution to help them out, whether it be a Band-Aid solution or a long-term solution. And the one thing I've learned is you can't just listen to people. You have to understand the issues and problems at hand. And I've been doing it for 20 years. And my promise is I will bring what I've been doing by putting on my uniform as when I can become mayor. The same promise is my integrity, my willingness to listen, my willingness to understand what the issues are and the problems are at hand, my willingness to think outside the box when finding solutions, my willingness to always stay on track and making sure that, we can agree to disagree, but we will always strive to be better and to come up with solutions are for the betterment of Ottawa, and in this case, for the betterment of that business. So my door is open. I won't be charging $1,200 a pop to meet me. So you can come and see me anytime you want, and we will work together to find a solution for your problems. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mike, the floor is over to you. If elected mayor and you're speaking to the business community.
Thanks. So I think I don't have many broad visions. I have a very, very practical outlook on life, and all roads lead to the budget. So I'm a fiscal conservative, and that's really where my focus begins. Fix transit, because people can't get around. They can't trust the transit system. They can't get around the city. Fix the roads. People can't get around the city because they don't trust the roads as well. Clean up the crime. It's ridiculous how lawless parts of Ottawa have become, and it's just not an acceptable way to continue, and it's going to be a damper on both enthusiasm as well as participation in the local economy. I go back again to the energy evolution, the environmental plan for the city of Ottawa. Ottawa businesses will not thrive if there isn't a safe, stable electrical grid and an energy grid. And the decision by the city of Ottawa to intervene to stop the Saint Laurent North pipeline, the Enbridge pipeline renewal, has put 185,000 businesses and residences at risk in Saint Laurent North area. all of these things need to be reconsidered, or we're just looking at an uncertain future for the city of Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brendan, over to you. Some final thoughts, if elected mayor, and you're speaking to the business community.
Sure. I've been saying a lot in my platform that I want to see Ottawa become the best place in the country to start and run a business. And that's going to be my goal from a business perspective. You know, I want to expand the Invest Ottawa accelerator programs, like I've mentioned, to give new businesses an opportunity to try chase their dreams without, you know, so much risk, so much pressure, and become thriving economic contributors to the city. I want to bring people back to the businesses that have suffered for the last few years, and that includes residents and tourists, and, you know, promoting Ottawa's global brand in a much stronger way than the boring capital we've been talked about so much being. And I just want to leverage the leadership and the knowledge we have here, both in, you know, what the details of this will look like, you know, talking to this business community about what you guys need as supports, but also like bringing together the impactful, the powerful knowledge bases that we have. You know, we've got one of the greatest tech sectors in the country already, and we've got an incredible number of agricultural leaders within city limits, you know, all these farmers with such great experience. And when we bring those businesses together, we can be one of the leading, or maybe the leading place in the world on agricultural technology, you know, on new urban growing strategies, on how to move forward with sustainable food, local food production in a world that's, you know, increasingly urban, and also in the climate change that we're experiencing. And so I'd like to talk to all of you and get your knowledge and leverage it to build the city you want for your businesses, but also grow what we're able to offer and the impact we're able to have in Ottawa.
Thank you very much. And today, the if elected mayor and speaking to the business community.
Well, I would say this, that the situation downtown is completely unacceptable. We're a G7 capital. We shouldn't be having homeless people on the streets. We shouldn't have a wait list to get to go into a drug treatment center. I like some of my competitors' ideas when it comes to affordable housing. There's been talk about building on Tony's Pasture or Bayview or Confederation Heights. So this to me is priority one, is to clean up downtown and make sure that we're not giving up on people. Everybody should live a fulfilled life. But what I bring most strongly to the table is financial competency. As I've mentioned, there's no business in this city that we should be able to. I want to see a financial summit where we rate our services 3, 2, 1 and prioritize them. It's unfair to ask people, well, where do you want savings? I want to see the city budget broken down. So the $6 billion, we're talking both capital and operating costs, I want to see them broken down to maybe a $6 million service. And then in the financial summit, we're going to have focus groups. We'll have online surveys where people vote and they actually prioritize, so that in every service we deliver, we know whether it's a 3, it's a 2, or it's a 1. And so no one should fear a hiring freeze. This is why you would have loved to have me in the debates, because I would have brought this up. Look, we are spending about $400 million on city staff that doesn't have to be. In 4 to 8 years, we are going to experience attrition. Let's spend that money with the small business and medium business community, and let's see the kind of growth that we can truly achieve in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm very appreciative of a lot of the comments. I was taking notes throughout. I was also asked to do my best to limit how much I interacted, only to, you know, to not accidentally, but there was a lot of really great comments that, oh, that's a good idea. Oh, this is a good idea. And so I've been taking some notes here as well. The idea of a roundtable, and I will make the commitment that we want to continue these conversations regardless of, and you know, very, very, as much of a chance for anyone here on this call to be mayor, which is exciting for the Board of Trade, to be taking part in this roundtable, or to be hosting this roundtable, I should say. But we also want to continue the conversation with community leaders who maybe aren't elected, because of ideas that that are generated from this two-way conversation. So again, thank you to everyone who's attended here today. Thank you to some of the community leaders that have also attended. I suspect we'll have a good amount of views, and you may be watching this now on the website a day or two after we've hosted things here today. I will say, if you're on the website watching and you're reading through the business community platform, the Board of Trade platform, and you see something that resonates, these have been created in a way that you can very easily click and share them through your social media channels. And we're not we're a strong organization, but we're even stronger when we have the impact of the voice being shared outbound, and our voice being shared outbound organically. The impact is even stronger. So I will say, if you see something within the messaging that really resonates with you, please share it. Continue to talk with all of the candidates for mayor and your local ward candidates. Coming up next week, if you're watching this live, coming up next week, or Monday through Friday of Small Business Week, we're also hosting these virtual roundtables with each of the wards. We've put the wards into kind of 5 geographical areas and have invited all of the ward candidates. Will follow the same format, so hopefully giving everyone who'd like to have a voice with the business community the opportunity to connect directly and share their messaging here with the business community. So with some final thoughts, thank you all to the candidates who have taken time away from your very busy schedules to be with us here today. I can't say thank you enough. On behalf of the Ottawa Board of Trade and on behalf of all of our partners, thank you to everyone who is listening here today as well. Have a great day, and all the best to the candidates as you get back onto the campaign trail here with the rest of your afternoon. Bye for now, everybody.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.